Emma sat at the kitchen table in their two-story house in suburban Chicago, scrolling through her phone. The morning sun poured into the kitchen, reflecting off the white cabinets. Outside, a neighbor's teenager was skateboarding, and the house smelled of coffee and the burnt toast David was trying to save. 6-year-old Sophia lay on the living room couch, staring at her iPad, and 4-year-old Jake was building a tower of plastic blocks on the floor. From the outside, their family looked perfect, but to Emma, it felt empty, like her life had been reduced to an endless to-do list. "Sophie, put the tablet down. Breakfast is on the table," Emma shouted, without looking up from the screen. Sophia sighed but obeyed, throwing the tablet onto the pillows and shuffling to the table. "Mom, toast again." She wrinkled her nose, looking at the plate of jam. "I want waffles." "We're out of waffles," Emma snapped, placing a glass of milk in front of her. "Eat what you have." "Jake, stop playing and come here." Jake jumped up, knocking over his tower, and ran towards the table, waving the cube. "Boom!" he shouted, throwing the cube onto the table right into Sophia's toast. "Jake, stop it." Sophia pushed his hand away. "Mom, he's ruining everything." "Hey, calm down, both of you." David walked in with 2 mugs of coffee, placed one in front of Emma, and patted Jake on the head. "Morning, Em. How did you sleep?" "So-so," Emma muttered, sipping her coffee. "Jake was kicking all night again. We need to wean him off sleeping with us." "He's little, he'll outgrow it," David said, sitting down opposite. "Sophie did that too, remember?" Sophie was easier. Emma looked at her daughter, who was concentrating on spreading jam. "And Jake was like a hurricane." David shrugged and turned to Sophia. "Hey, little bee, how's your play at school going? You're the star, aren't you?" "I'm a bee," Sophia perked up. "Miss Carter says I buzz better than anyone." "Buzz. Cool," David smiled. "And you, Jake, what will you be for Halloween?" "A T-Rex," Jake yelled, waving his arms. "The scariest one." Emma listened, but her mind was elsewhere. She opened Instagram and came across Lisa's post. Standing in a tight dress against a backdrop of neon lights, a cocktail in her hand, a guy next to her. Emma clutched her phone. When had she last felt this free? Before Sophia? Before Jake? Where are you?" David noticed her distant gaze. "Did something happen?" "Nothing." She put her phone down. "Just thinking about the day. I have to pick up Sophie from dance, buy groceries, and pick up Jake from kindergarten at 3. I'll be running around like crazy again." "I can take Sophie after work," David offered. "I'm not late today." "Really?" Emma looked at him. "That would be great." "Of course," he nodded. "We agreed to split the work, right?" Emma forced a smile, but inside she felt annoyed. David had always been like this, helpful, responsible. But why wasn't that a joy? She remembered going out with her girlfriends to clubs in her early 20s, laughing until the early hours, flirting without looking back. And now her life was children, home, and talking about her schedule. "Mom, can I have some juice?" asked Sophia, finishing her toast. "Take it, just don't spill it," Emma replied, and put the plate in the sink. Sophia went into the kitchen and Jake dragged his plate, but tripped and it smashed on the floor. "Oh," he froze, looking at the fragments. "Jake, that's enough." Emma jumped up. "I told you to be careful." "I didn't mean to," Jake muttered, ready to cry. "Okay, don't cry." David crouched down, picking up the pieces. "It's okay, Em. It's just a plate." "Just a plate, just cubes, just a mess." Emma grabbed the broom. "I have the same thing every day." David looked at her, but said nothing, used to her outbursts. Emma put the shards away and caught her reflection in the mirror. Disheveled hair, an old t-shirt, a tired look. She was 34, but she looked like a shadow of the girl who once danced until dawn. After David dropped Jake off at preschool and Emma dropped Sophia off at school, she met Lisa at Starbucks. Lisa was as flawless as ever. Freshly manicured, new leather jacket, perfectly styled hair. You look like you haven't slept in a week," Lisa said, sipping her caramel macchiato. "Are the kids bothering you again?" Jake was up all night, Emma said, stirring her coffee, and Sophie was screaming this morning that she didn't want to wear tights. A typical morning. I don't understand how you can stand it, Lisa shook her head. I would have run away already. Do you ever get a break? Without the kids? Without David? When? Emma snorted. The last time David and I went out to dinner was for his birthday, and even then I spent half the evening checking to see if the babysitter had texted. This isn't a vacation. This is torture. Lisa leaned closer. Listen, I'm going to a new club downtown on Friday. Come with me. David can handle the kids. He's a model for you. I don't know, Liz. Emma hesitated. It's not that simple. And I don't even know what to wear. I only have jeans in my closet. By a dress, Lisa waved her hand. You're 34. You can't be just a mom and a wife your whole life. Live for yourself. When was the last time you danced? Or just laughed without thinking about the kindergarten bill? Emma thought about it. Lisa was right, she couldn't remember the last time she did something for herself. It sounds tempting, she said. But David probably won't be thrilled. He doesn't like it when I go out without him. And you present him with a fait accompli, Lisa winked. He's not your supervisor. Or is he really against you having fun? It's not that he's against it, Emma shrugged. He likes things to go according to plan. Family nights, dinners, that kind of thing. Boring, Lisa rolled her eyes. Promise me you'll think about Friday. You deserve a night without diapers and chores. Okay, I'll think about it, Emma smiled, feeling a spark light up in her chest. The thought of the club seemed both terrifying and exciting. At home, Emma went about her daily routine, loading the washing machine, answering work emails, and sorting out the toys Jake had left lying around. She worked part-time at a marketing firm, which gave her flexibility, but the job had long since become boring, the same old reports, calls, deadlines. When David returned from work, he brought groceries for dinner. I got some meat and potatoes, he said, laying out the bags. Maybe we should make a roast? Or order something? The roast is fine, Emma replied, helping him. Just without the carrots. Sophie hates them. Ha, I see, David nodded. How was your day? As usual, Emma shrugged. School, kindergarten, and meeting Lisa. She's inviting me to a club in the center on Friday. David frowned as he put the milk in the refrigerator. To the club? He turned to her. What is this? A night out with Lisa and her crowd? Yeah, Emma tensed, feeling his tone. Just go dancing, have a cocktail. Nothing like that. Seriously? David crossed his arms. Don't you think this is a bad idea? Lisa is always dragging you to places with drunk assholes. And we have kids. Who's going to take them? You, Emma snapped, setting the plates down on the table louder than necessary. You said to yourself that we share the work. I'm with the kids all day, David. Can't I have an evening to myself? Yes, but not in a club with Lisa, he shook his head. You know how she behaves. You'll be back at 3 in the morning, and then I'll have to deal with your hangover and the kids. Oh my God, David, I'm not going to get drunk, Emma rolled her eyes. I just want to have fun. When was the last time I went out? Do you even remember? What, our family evenings aren't fun? David looked at her. We have a normal time. Why do you need these clubs? Emma felt anger boiling inside her. His words only made her want to break free even more. Normal doesn't mean cool, she snapped. I don't want to sit at home and watch Netflix my whole life. I'm 34, not 60. Okay, I'll put it this way, you're a grown, married woman. You decide for yourself what to do, but if your husband's opinion is important to you, then I think this is a very bad idea. David raised his hands. But don't say later that I didn't warn you. Emma turned away, pressing her lips together. His disapproval angered her, but it also spurred her on. If David thought she couldn't have fun without trouble, she would prove him wrong. The thought of Friday was not just tempting now, it was necessary. In the evening, after putting the children to bed, Emma sat in the kitchen, browsing clothing websites. Sophia fell asleep after 3 stories, and Jake, as usual, climbed into bed with them. Emma looked at his sleeping face, feeling the usual love, but then remembered David's words. Why couldn't he just be there for her? She hadn't asked for much just one night. David sat in the living room watching basketball. "Want to watch?" he shouted. "The playoffs are on." "No, I'm going to bed," Emma answered, getting up. "I'm tired." "Good night." He didn't even turn around. "I love you." "Aha," she muttered, walking to the bathroom. Emma stood in front of the bedroom mirror, looking at herself in the new black dress she'd bought over lunch. It hugged her figure, accentuated her waist, and fell just above her knees, bolder than anything she'd worn in years. She'd let her hair down, applied red lipstick, and slipped on the heels that had been gathering dust in her closet since her wedding. In the reflection, she saw not a mother of two, but a woman ready for a night of possibilities. Her heart was pounding with excitement and a little guilt. David was downstairs with the kids, his disapproval still lingering in the air from their conversation earlier in the week. "Sophie, Jake, be good to Daddy," Emma called as she came down the stairs. "I'll be back late." Sophia, sitting on the couch with a bowl of popcorn, looked at her. "Mom, you're so beautiful," she said, her eyes wide. "Like a princess." "Thank you, dear," Emma smiled, fixing her hair. "And you be a good bee, okay?" Jake ran up holding a plastic dinosaur. "Mom, don't go." He grabbed her leg. "Play with me." "Hey, champ," David picked Jake up. "Mom'll be home soon. We'll watch cartoons together, okay?" Jake nodded, but still frowned. Emma looked at David, expecting him to say something about her plans, but he just nodded. "Don't put your phone on silent, be available at all times if there's anything wrong with the kids," he said, setting Jake down on the floor. "And be careful." "I will," Emma replied, feeling his cold tone. She grabbed her purse and left before she could change her mind. In the car, she turned up the music to drown out thoughts of home. Emma met Lisa outside the Neon Pulse Club in downtown Chicago. The neon signs were flashing, the bass from the speakers was pounding the sidewalk, and the line out the door was half a block long. Lisa looked like a star in a shiny silver top and leather skirt. She threw her arms around Emma and pulled her toward a security guard, who let them in ahead of the line. She was clearly a regular. "Oh my God, Em, you look hot." Lisa looked her up and down. "That dress is on fire. We're going to rock it tonight." "I hope so," Emma smiled nervously, adjusting her hair. "I feel like I'm 20 again." And rightly so, Lisa winked. "Forget about the children and David for a couple of hours. Today, you are the queen." Inside, the club was packed. Strobe lights were flashing, music was blaring, and bartenders were juggling bottles behind the bar. Lisa ordered 2 cocktails, something with gin and a bright pink foam. Emma took a sip and winced at the sweetness, but the alcohol quickly went to her head, relaxing her. "Well, let's get to the dance floor." Lisa grabbed her hand. "It's time to show that you haven't forgotten how to move." Emma laughed and followed her. They pushed through the crowd, and the music took hold of her. She closed her eyes, letting the rhythm guide her, and for the first time in a long time, she felt free. Lisa danced nearby, attracting attention, and Emma noticed a few boys starting to circle around them. One, a tall one with a tattoo on his arm, smiled at her, and to her surprise, she smiled back. "See, Em, you're still in the game," Lisa shouted over the music. "This guy's clearly got a thing for you." "Oh, come on, I'm just dancing." Emma waved him off, but her cheeks were burning. The attention was pleasant, like a breath of air after a long dive. They danced for a few more songs until Lisa dragged her to the bar for more drinks. There, a guy with a tattoo approached them and introduced himself as Zach. His friend, Mike, joined in, and soon the 4 of them were chatting at the bar. "So you're here often?" Zach asked, leaning closer to Emma so she could hear him. "I haven't seen you before." "No, I don't go out much," Emma replied, fiddling with the straw in her drink. "I'm usually at home with my family." "Family is cool," Zach said, but his gaze slid down her dress. But you clearly know how to have fun. Want to dance? Emma hesitated, looking at Lisa, who was already giggling with Mike. Go, Em. Lisa nudged her shoulder. Don't be a bore. Okay, one dance. Emma smiled and walked with Zach to the dance floor. He was a good dancer, and he led her with confidence, and Emma felt like she was back in college. Zach was charming, and he joked, and his arm around her waist felt new and exciting. She knew it was just dancing, but the attention, the looks, the compliments was stirring something in her that she had long forgotten. She wasn't just a mom or a wife. She was the Emma that was wanted, admired. You move great, Zach said when the song ended. Another one? Maybe later, Emma laughed, feeling dizzy from the cocktails and adrenaline. I need a break. They returned to Lisa, who had already ordered shots. To the night when we live life to the fullest, Lisa proclaimed, raising her glass. Emma drank, wincing from the tequila, and felt the warmth spread through her body. She looked out at the crowd, at the laughing people, at Zach, who was chatting with Mike, but looking at her. This was so far from her normal life, from laundry, from school meetings, from talking about bills. She was breathing deeply, and she loved it. The hours flew by. They danced, chatted, and laughed. Zach hinted a couple of times that he wanted to meet again, but Emma laughed them off without giving any direct answers. Lisa, as always, was the center of attention, flirting with Mike and a couple of other guys who had joined their group. Emma felt part of this world, bright, loud, alive. When she finally looked at the phone, it was almost 2 in the morning. Liz, I have to go, she said, feeling a little panicked. David's probably mad by now. Relax, he'll survive. Lisa rolled her eyes. One more cocktail, and we'll be on our way. No, really? Emma shook her head. I'm already late. Okay, you're boring, Lisa laughed, but hugged her. But admit it, it was cool, right? Yes, Emma smiled. Very cool. She ordered an Uber and stepped outside, where the cold night air sobered her up a bit. In the car, she looked out the window, feeling euphoria mingle with anxiety. She was having fun, more fun than she had in years. But what would David say? She remembered him saying, bad idea. Maybe he was right. But then she thought of Zach, of his smile, of Lisa calling her queen. No, she hadn't been wrong to go. She needed to. It was almost 3 in the morning when Emma walked into the house. She tried to move quietly, taking off her shoes in the hallway. The living room was dark, except for the TV, which was flashing commercials. David was asleep on the couch, his arms crossed, the remote control on his chest. Emma froze, waiting for him to wake up and ask questions, but he only stirred slightly. She walked into the bedroom, feeling a mixture of relief and irritation. Had he not even waited to tell her off? Or did he not care? Emma took off her dress, washed her face, and went to bed, but sleep would not come. She thought about the club, about the music, about the looks of men. It was like another life, a life where she was more than just a mother and a wife. Lisa was right. She needed more nights like this, and if David didn't like it, that was his problem. In the morning, Emma woke up with a slight headache. David was already in the kitchen, making oatmeal for the kids. Sophia was drawing at the table, and Jake was fiddling with a spoon. Good morning, David said without looking at her. There's coffee on the stove. Thank you, Emma poured herself a mug, waiting for him to continue. But he remained silent, stirring his oatmeal. Mom, were you at the club yesterday? Sophia asked, not looking up from her drawing. Dad said you danced. Yes, dear, Emma smiled. It was fun. David set the plates in front of the children and walked out of the kitchen without saying a word. His silence irritated Emma more than if he had made a scene. He was clearly angry, but he didn't want to talk. So what? She hadn't done anything wrong. She was just having fun. Later, when the children had run off to play, Emma approached David, who was loading the dishwasher. Are you okay? She asked, crossing her arms. You've been quiet all day. I'm fine. He closed the dishwasher and looked at her. And you, did you have a good time? Yeah, Emma nodded, sensing the challenge in his tone. It was awesome. I haven't had this much fun in a long time. I'm happy for you, he said, but his voice was cold. Just remember, we have kids. They need a mother. I don't forget, David, she snapped. One night doesn't change anything. He shrugged and walked into the living room. Emma clenched her fists, feeling anger mingle with triumph. His reaction only confirmed what she had done correctly, choosing herself. Lisa was right, she deserves to live, not just exist. And if David can't understand that, then she'll have to find out for herself what makes her happy. Emma sat at her desk in the marketing firm's office, staring at a spreadsheet of sales data. Monday morning dragged on, with calls to clients, tweaks to a presentation, coffee that was already cold. She was working part-time to pick up Sophia from school and Jake from daycare, but even those few hours in the office felt tiring. She opened her instant messenger and texted Lisa, bored to death, save me. Lisa replied almost immediately, ha, welcome to my life, still hungover from Friday. Emma smiled, remembering the club. The dancing, the drinks, the look in that guy's eyes, Zach. She still felt a little thrill from that night, even though everything had returned to the usual routine at home. David hadn't said anything about her late arrival, but his silence was more annoying than if he'd made a scene. She wanted him to show that he cared, but he just made breakfast and fussed with the kids as if nothing had happened. Emma, are you going to lunch? Carol's colleague's voice interrupted her thoughts. Carol, a woman in her 40s, was standing at her desk, purse in hand. The guys and I are going to that Mexican place across the street. Oh, right now. Emma slammed her laptop shut. I could use a break. The restaurant was crowded, but a group of 5 of them had taken a table by the window. Emma sat next to Carol and 2 other colleagues, Sam and Linda, who were discussing a new project. She nodded, but her mind was elsewhere on the club, on Lisa, on the way David hadn't even asked how she'd spent the evening. Hey, have you heard about the new guy in marketing? Linda leaned closer, lowering her voice. His name is Ryan, just transferred from the Detroit office. Word is he's a star pitchman. Yeah, I saw him this morning, Carol winked. He looks like a model from a cologne ad. Emma, have you crossed paths with him yet? No, Emma shrugged, taking a bite of her taco. I've only been here half a day. I don't keep an eye on the new kids. Well, hold on, he's definitely your type, Linda laughed. Charismatic, with $1 million smile. Emma rolled her eyes, but smiled. She hadn't meant to chase new coworkers, but Linda's compliments reminded her of Friday and how good it felt to be the center of attention. After lunch, Emma returned to the office and threw herself into work, but soon she was called into a meeting about a new project. She walked into the conference room where several people were already seated, including Sam and their boss, Mark. Standing by the window was a guy she hadn't seen before, tall, with dark hair and a perfectly tailored jacket. He turned and their eyes met. He smiled confidently, but not cockily. Emma, this is Ryan, our new marketer, Mark said, pointing at him. Ryan, this is Emma. She's in charge of analytics and client coordination. Nice to meet you, Emma. Ryan extended his hand, his smile widening. I hear you're keeping things under control around here. Well, I try. Emma shook his hand, feeling her cheeks flush slightly. His voice was low, slightly husky, and he looked straight into her eyes, not looking away. The meeting was quick, discussing the launch of a campaign for a new client. Ryan spoke confidently, rattling off ideas, and even Mark, usually stingy with praise, nodded in approval. Emma took notes, but a couple of times she found herself looking at Ryan. He wasn't just handsome, he exuded an energy that was missing from her life. After the meeting, she returned to her desk, but half an hour later, Ryan appeared at her desk holding 2 cups of coffee. Hey, Emma, he set 1 cup in front of her. I thought I'd bring you some coffee. You looked like you could use a recharge. Oh, thank you. Emma was surprised, but took the cup. I didn't expect it. I usually run for coffee myself. Well, I'm new. I have to make friends. He sat on the edge of her desk, smiling. Besides, You're the only one who didn't roll your eyes when I pitched my viral advertising idea. She wasn't bad, Emma shrugged, sipping her coffee, although Mark doesn't seem to be a fan of risk. Mark just likes things the old way. Ryan leaned in a little closer. And you don't seem to be afraid of the news. Am I right? Emma laughed, feeling his attention warm her. I don't know, I'm just doing my job. But your enthusiasm is infectious. That's my secret, he winked. Listen, I'm going to lunch in an hour. Want to join me? Tell me how things work around here. I've already eaten. Emma hesitated, but his smile was so disarming that she added, but I can have another coffee. Why not? Great, Ryan stood up. I'll see you downstairs then. Emma felt her heart beat faster as he left. It had been silly, just coffee with a coworker. But his compliments, his look, it was so different from her usual days. She remembered the way Zach had looked at her at the club and how Lisa had called her a queen. Maybe she really could be like that. On her lunch break, she and Ryan were sitting across the street at a cafe. He ordered a sandwich and Emma grabbed a latte to keep her hands busy. Ryan was talking about his work in Detroit and how he once convinced a client to invest in a crazy ad campaign that had taken off. Are you always so energetic? Emma asked, stirring her coffee. Only when I see someone worth talking to, he smiled, looking into her eyes. You're not like the others here. You have. A spark, I guess. Spark, Emma laughed, but her cheeks flushed again. You barely know me. Well, I'm a quick reader, Ryan leaned closer. And I can see that you're not the type to spend your life sitting in front of spreadsheets. Am I right? Emma looked away, feeling his words hit home. She didn't want to be just an analyst, a mom, a wife. She wanted more, and Ryan seemed to see it. Maybe, she said, trying to sound casual. But I have children, a family. It's not that easy to change everything. I'm not talking about changing, he shrugged. I'm just talking about letting yourself live sometimes. You're not an old lady. How old are you? 30. 34, Emma chuckled. But thanks for the compliment. 34 isn't even that old, Ryan laughed. You look 25, seriously. You don't let yourself get bored, do you? Emma felt warmth at his words. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. David hadn't said anything like this to her in a long time. Their conversations revolved around the kids, bills, weekend plans, and Ryan looked at her as if she were the only one in the room. They chatted throughout the break, and when they got back to the office, Ryan said, Listen, if you want more coffee or just to chat, right? I'm always up for company. Okay, Emma nodded, feeling a little thrilled. Thanks for the coffee. That night, as Emma picked up Sophia from school, she was still thinking about Ryan. His smile, his words, his confidence, it was like a breath of fresh air. She knew it was just flirting, nothing serious, but she loved the way he made her feel wanted, alive. At home, David was cooking dinner, spaghetti and meatballs, Jake's favorite. Emma walked in, throwing her bag on the couch. Hello, David said, stirring the sauce. How's your day? Fine, Emma replied, kissing the top of Sophia's head. Lots of work. New guy in the office, a marketer. Seems smart. Oh, cool, David nodded, not looking up from the stove. Dinner in 10 minutes. Emma looked at him, expecting him to ask for details, but he just kept cooking. His indifference angered her. Why wasn't he interested? Why wasn't he asking how her Friday at the club had been? She wanted him to notice that she was changing, that she needed more than this routine. Mom, can I help? Sophia ran up, holding a spoon. Of course, honey, Emma smiled, but her thoughts were on Ryan. She remembered him calling her Spark. Maybe that was what she was missing. After dinner, when the kids went to bed, Emma was sitting on the couch with her phone. Lisa wrote, So, how's work? Still thinking about the club? Emma replied, Work is okay. New colleague, Ryan, is interesting. And the club was awesome. I want more. Lisa immediately responded, Wow, Ryan, tell me. And yes, we're going next Friday again. You're a star now. Emma smiled, but felt a pang of guilt. She looked at David, who was watching the news in the living room. He was a good husband, a good father, but his silence, his routine, was suffocating her. Emma sat at her desk in the marketing firm's office, staring at her laptop screen, but her mind was elsewhere. It had been a week since she'd met Ryan, the new marketer, and their short coffee chats had become the highlight of her workdays. His compliments, his smile, his ability to listen, they all made her feel special in a way she hadn't felt at home in a long time. She opened her phone and reread their latest chat. Ryan had sent a meme about office life, and she'd responded with a quick, "Ha, right, it hadn't been serious, just chit-chat." But every time his name popped up on the screen, her heart beat faster. "Emma, have you finished your report?" Carol's colleague's voice brought her back to reality. Carol was standing at her desk with a folder in her hands. "Almost." Emma switched to the table. "A couple more numbers, and I'll send it to Mark." "Okay, he already asked." Carol smiled. "By the way, I saw you chatting with Ryan last week. He's clearly not indifferent to you." "Oh, come on." Emma shook her head, but her cheeks were slightly pink. "He's just being friendly. New, want to get to know everyone." "Well, well," Carol looked at her slyly. "Just be careful. He's the kind of guy who knows how to charm." Emma laughed, but Carol's words stuck in her head. Charm? Maybe so, but she liked it. She went back to work, but a few minutes later her phone vibrated. A text from Ryan. "Meeting at 2, save me. This is going to be boring. Want to get coffee after?" She replied, "Only if you pay." "Agreed," came the reply. "We'll meet at the elevator at 3. Emma put her phone down, feeling a little trepidation. It was just coffee, nothing special. But why hadn't she told David about this? She imagined him at home, cooking dinner for Sophia and Jake, and felt a pang of guilt. But she quickly brushed it off. She wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just talking to a coworker. The meeting was, as expected, tedious. Ryan sat across from her, taking notes, but he caught her eye a couple of times and smiled slightly. Afterwards, Emma grabbed her purse and met him at the elevator. "Well, marketing hero." She looked at him, adjusting the strap of her bag. "How do you like our office circus?" "So far, I'm surviving." Ryan laughed as he opened the door to the cafe. "But honestly, you make these meetings bearable. Without you, I'd be asleep by now." "Well, thank you," Emma shrugged, but his words warmed her. They ordered coffee a latte for her, an Americano for him, and sat at a table by the window. "So, Emma, tell me about yourself." Ryan leaned back in his chair, looking at her with interest. "You weren't always a master of analytics. What did you live for before this?" "Nothing special," she shrugged, fiddling with her napkin. "I went to school in Illinois, then I met my husband, had 2 kids. Now this is work, home, kids, a normal life." "I don't believe it." He leaned closer. "You definitely have something interesting. You look like a person who knows how to surprise." Emma felt her cheeks heat up. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. David hadn't asked her questions like that in a long time, hadn't looked at her like she was a mystery to be solved. "Well, I used to love to travel," she said. "My friends and I would go to Mexico, to New Orleans. We would dance, party until the morning, but that was before children." "Now that sounds like the truth," Ryan nodded. "We need to get this Emma back. She's definitely interesting." "Maybe." Emma looked away, feeling his words awaken something long forgotten in her. "And you? Were you always such a marketing genius?" "No," he laughed. "I was a rebel in college, playing in a band, dreaming of being a rock star. But then I realized I needed to make money, and here I am, selling ideas for coffee." Emma listened to him talk about his adventures and found herself loving his energy. He wasn't like David, who always planned everything in advance, from vacations to dinners. Ryan seemed spontaneous, alive, and that was appealing. When they returned to the office, Ryan said, "Text me if you want more coffee, or just to chat. You're cool, Emma." "Thank you," she nodded. "You're okay, too." That evening, as Emma picked up Sophia from school, Ryan was still on her mind. His words, his look, it was like a breath of fresh air. She knew it was just flirting, nothing serious. But she loved the way he made her feel wanted, alive. At home, Emma helped Sophia with her homework, put Jake to bed, and made sandwiches for tomorrow. David came home from work, as always, with a bag of groceries. "I bought a chicken," he said, laying out the bags. "I thought we'd bake it with potatoes. Or do you want something else?" "The chicken is fine," Emma replied, chopping vegetables. "How is your day?" "As usual," he shrugged. "The project is delayed, but we'll manage. And you?" "That's okay, too," she hesitated, thinking about Ryan. "Lots of work. New colleague Ryan is helping with the project. Seems smart." "Cool," David nodded without looking at her. "Dinner in an hour?" "Yeah," Emma turned back to the stove, feeling irritated. Why didn't he ask for details? Didn't he care? She wanted him to notice that she was changing, that she needed more than this routine. Later, after the kids went to bed, Emma was sitting on the couch with her phone. Ryan wrote, "Today was fun. Are you always this witty, or is it just me?" She replied, "It's you who has that influence. But don't get cocky." They texted for another half hour about work, about stupid clients, about their favorite TV shows. Emma held the phone so that David, who was sitting in the living room with his laptop, couldn't see the screen. It was stupid she wasn't doing anything wrong, she was just chatting. But then why didn't she show him the messages? The next day, Emma met Lisa at a cafe after work. Lisa, as always, looked flawless. A new sweater, perfect makeup, energy that Emma lacked. "So, tell me about this, Ryan." Lisa leaned over the table, sipping her cappuccino. "You wrote that he was interesting. What kind of guy is he?" "Just a colleague," Emma shrugged, but her smile gave her away. "He's new, a marketer, smart, funny. We had coffee a couple of times, chatted." "We were chatting." "Yeah." Lisa looked at her with a squint. "And what does he look like?" "Hot." "Well, yeah," Emma laughed. "Tall, dark hair, always in fashionable jackets. But it's not that. He's just alive, easy to be with." "It's dangerous." Lisa poked her with a spoon. "It's alive, it's hot, and you're flirting with it. It's your breath of freedom, Em. You need more of it." "I'm not flirting," Emma shook her head. "We're just chatting. He knows I'm married." "So what?" Lisa snorted. "You're not a nun. You're 34, not 80. If he makes you smile, use it." "David clearly doesn't." Emma fell silent, looking into her teacup. Lisa was right, David didn't make her feel special. He was a good husband, but his predictability, his constant, "How's your day?" and "What's for dinner?" were maddening. Ryan was different. He noticed the way she joked, the way she looked, the way she thought. "I don't know, Liz," she said. "It's just talk. Nothing serious." "Bye," Lisa nodded. "But keep me posted. And yes, we're going to the club again on Friday. You're a star now, don't forget." Emma nodded, but her thoughts were on Ryan. She remembered the way he'd looked at her today when they'd discussed the project in the conference room. His gaze had lingered a little too long, and she felt a warmth in her chest. At home, everything was going as usual. Sophia was drawing at the table. Jake was building a tower of blocks. David was watching basketball. Emma helped the kids with dinner, but her phone kept vibrating. Ryan sent a link to a video about office bosses, and she replied, "This is just about Mark." "Who's writing there?" David asked, without looking up from the screen. "Lisa," Emma lied without thinking. "Just chatting." "Oh, okay," he nodded and returned to the game. His indifference stung. Why didn't he ask? Was he not interested? She clutched her phone, feeling anger mingle with excitement. Ryan texted again. "We should watch something together sometime. Netflix or old movies?" Emma replied, "Netflix, but only if it's not horror." She knew she was going too far, but she couldn't stop. It was like a game, innocent but exciting. Ryan made her feel alive, wanted, unlike David, who seemed to see her only as the mother of their children. Before going to bed, Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. David was asleep next to her, snoring lightly. She opened the chat with Ryan and reread their messages. Nothing serious, just flirting. But why was she hiding it? She remembered Lisa's words, a breath of freedom. Maybe this is what she was missing. Emma sat in her car in the parking lot of a budget hotel 20 minutes from the office, looking at herself in the rearview mirror. Her lips were still burning from Ryan's kiss, and her chest was a mixture of excitement and anxiety. It had been a month since their flirtation had turned into something more, and now she seemed to live in two worlds. One at home with David, Sophia, and Jake, and one with Ryan, where she felt wanted and free. She smoothed out her hair, wiped away the lipstick, and took a deep breath. She needed to go home as if nothing had happened. It had started out innocently. Coffee, texts, long conversations after work. But 2 weeks ago, after yet another work dinner, Ryan had asked her to his hotel room, and she hadn't said no. It had been a leap of faith, terrifying but exciting. Now they were meeting once or twice a week, under the guise of client meetings or late hours at the office. Emma knew it was wrong, but every time Ryan touched her, she forgot about the guilt. Everything was going as usual at home, but Emma felt like an outsider. She sat at dinner, listening to Sophia talk about the school play, but her thoughts were on Ryan, the way he'd laughed at her joke earlier that day, the way he'd looked at her when they were in bed. She found herself getting annoyed with David for little things she'd never noticed before. Do you want some fries? David asked, passing the bowl across the table. He looked tired from work, but, as always, he tried to make conversation. No, thank you, Emma shook her head, picking at the chicken on her plate. I'm not hungry. Mom, you never eat now, said Sophia, looking at her. Are you sick? No, honey, I'm just tired. Emma forced a smile. Lots of work. You're always tired, Sophia frowned and returned to her food. Emma felt a twinge of guilt, but quickly pushed it down. She wasn't a bad mother. She was just busy. Jake was sitting in his high chair, smearing sauce on his plate, and Emma said sharply, Jake, eat properly and stop playing with your food. I'm not playing, he looked at her, ready to cry. Okay, champ, let me help. David picked up a spoon and started feeding Jake. Is everything okay? You're feeling a little tense. I'm fine, she snapped. It's just been a rough day. David nodded but said nothing, which made her even angrier. Why didn't he ask what was wrong? Why didn't he notice that she was drifting away? She looked at him, sitting there, carving a chicken, wearing his usual plaid shirt, and suddenly she wanted to scream. Instead, she stood up and began clearing the dishes. After dinner, Emma helped Sophia with her homework, but her mind was elsewhere. As she was tucking Jake into bed, he hugged her and muttered, Mom, aren't you mad at me? No, baby, she kissed his forehead. Sleep. But his words hurt. She was angry not at him, but at herself, at David, at this life that seemed like a cage to her. She went down to the living room, where David was watching the news, as he did every night. News again, she said, sitting down on the sofa. Couldn't we just watch something normal for once? A movie, for example? What's wrong with the news? David looked at her. I'm not making you watch it. You always watch them. She crossed her arms. It's boring, David. Don't you want something different? Like, he turned off the TV. You want a romantic comedy? Okay, let's choose. Forget it. Emma stood up. I'm going to bed. Wait. He stood up after her. What's wrong with you? You've been on edge all evening. Nothing. She turned to him. I'm just tired. Work, kids, everything. If something's wrong, tell me. He looked at her, but his voice didn't have the warmth she wanted to hear. We're a team, right? Yes, she muttered and went upstairs. In the bedroom, Emma opened her phone and saw a text from Ryan. Today was awesome. Miss you already. See you tomorrow, she replied. Yeah, after work. Just not long, I have things to do. She knew it was a lie she would make time, like she always did. The next day she met Ryan again, this time at the office after work. They stayed in the conference room, ostensibly to discuss the project, but after 10 minutes the discussion ended and Ryan kissed her. Emma knew she should stop, but she couldn't. They left for a hotel, and it all happened again: passion, excitement, oblivion. "You're incredible," Ryan said, lying next to her. "You make me forget about everything." "You too," Emma smiled, but inside she felt heavy. She looked at her watch: almost 7. "I need to go home." "Already?" He ran his hand over her shoulder. "Stay another half hour." "I can't." She stood up, pulling on her dress. "The kids, David, you know." "I know," he nodded, but there was a slight mockery in his voice. "Your other life." Emma didn't answer, but his words stung. Another life. That's exactly how she felt, split between two worlds. At home, she entered quietly, hoping that David would not notice how late she had returned. Sophia and Jake were already eating pizza at the table, and David was washing the dishes. "Hello?" he said without turning around. "Pizza is on the table if you want it." "Thank you." Emma threw her bag on the sofa. "I was late at work. I had a client." "Yeah," he nodded, continuing to wash the plates. His indifference angered her. Why didn't he ask? Didn't he care where she was? She sat down with the children, but Sophia looked at her and said, "Mom, you're late again. You're always at work now." "Sorry, honey," Emma patted her head. "Just a lot to do, but I'm here, right?" Sophia nodded, but looked sad. Jake, chewing pizza, spilled juice on the table, and Emma said sharply, "Jake, be careful. How many times have I asked?" "I didn't mean to." He looked at her, his eyes filling with tears. "Okay, it's okay." David came up with a towel. Relax. It's just juice." "I'm relaxed," she snapped, standing up. "I'm just tired of everything." She went into the bathroom, guilt and anger warring inside her. She looked in the mirror. Her hair was a mess, the lipstick stains she'd forgotten to wipe off. Who was she now? A mother? A wife? A lover? She washed her face and went to bed, but she couldn't sleep. Her phone was on the nightstand, and she knew Ryan would probably text. She wanted to answer, but she also wanted David to notice that something was wrong with her. But he just slept next to her, as if nothing had changed. David stood at the stove, stirring spaghetti sauce, while Sophia and Jake played in the living room. It was 7 o'clock, and Emma was working late again. It had become a pattern over the past couple of months. She would come home later than she'd promised, citing clients or projects. David was used to taking charge of dinner and the kids, but today there was a tightness in his chest. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, but Emma was different. She was sharper, more distant, and he felt like he was losing touch with her. "Dad, can I watch another cartoon?" Sophia called from the couch where she was drawing, while Jake was building a tower of blocks. "One, and then dinner," David replied, wiping his hands on a towel. "Sophie, help Jake put away the toys, okay?" "Okay," she sighed, but got off the couch. "Jake, come on," Daddy said to clean up. "I don't want to." Jake stamped his foot, and the tower collapsed. "My dinosaurs." "Hey, champ." David came over and sat down next to him. "Let's put the dinosaurs away and play after dinner, okay?" Jake nodded, and David helped him stack the blocks. He loved these moments with the kids, their laughter, their little victories. But today, even that couldn't distract him from thinking about Emma. She was always busy, but now it seemed like she was in another world. She barely spoke to him, except about business, who was picking up Sophia, what to buy at the store. And in bed, they hadn't been close in weeks. Every time he tried to hug her, she pulled away, citing fatigue. The door slammed and Emma walked in, throwing her bag on the couch. Her hair was a little disheveled and her blouse was wrinkled, but she looked alive, like she'd just gotten back from a party rather than the office. "Hi," she said, kissing the top of Sophia's head. "It smells delicious. Spaghetti?" "Yeah," David nodded, returning to the stove. "It'll be ready in 5 minutes. The kids are hungry." "Great." Emma took off her shoes and plopped down on a chair. "It's been a crazy day. The client redid everything again." Again, David looked at her. You've been with clients all the time lately. Well, yeah, she shrugged, not meeting his gaze. New project, lots of work. You know how it is. I know, he nodded, but something in her tone made him wary. She spoke quickly, as if she wanted to close the subject. It's just, you're often late. Is everything okay? It's okay, David. Emma looked at him, and there was a sharpness in her voice. It's just work. I can't just leave at 5 like you. That's not what I meant. He lowered his voice so the children wouldn't hear. It's just that you're, I don't know, different. I'm worried. Are you nervous? She snorted, standing up to get a glass of water. Oh, God, David, I'm just tired. Don't make a big deal out of it. He wanted to say something else, but Sophia ran into the kitchen. Mom, Dad said we can watch a cartoon after dinner. Can we watch Zootopia? Of course, dear, Emma smiled, but it was a strained smile. Go wash your hands. Sophia ran off, and David began to spoon spaghetti onto plates. He could feel the tension between them growing, but he didn't know how to fix it. Maybe he was exaggerating. Emma worked as hard as he did, and maybe she was just burnt out. But why did he feel like she was slipping away? At dinner, Sophia chatted about school while Jake smeared gravy on his plate. Emma listened with half an ear, nodding, but her mind was clearly elsewhere. David looked at her, trying to catch her eye, but she avoided looking at him. Mom, will you come to my play? Sophia asked, finishing her spaghetti. Miss Carter said I'd be a bee. Of course I'll come, Emma stroked her head. When is it? Next Friday, Sophia smiled. Dad already promised. I will too, Emma nodded, but David noticed her quickly glance at the phone lying next to her. The screen lit up, and she immediately turned it over. Who's there? He asked, trying to sound casual. Nobody, Emma shrugged. Lisa, probably. She's always writing. Oh, David nodded, but his chest hurt. Lisa. She mentioned her every time her phone vibrated late at night, but he wasn't sure it was true. After dinner, Emma put Jake to bed and David helped Sophia with her homework. When they were alone in the living room, he decided to try again. Can I talk? He sat down on the couch, turning off the TV. About what? She looked at him, crossing her arms. I'm tired, David. The children just fell asleep. I know, but... He hesitated, choosing his words. I just feel like we're drifting apart. You're always at work, and when you're home, it's like you're not there. Am I doing something wrong? Oh my God, are you serious? Emma rolled her eyes. I work, David. I have projects, clients. I don't sit at home and watch the news like you. What do you want me to do? I don't mean work, he lowered his voice. You don't want to be around me. We barely talk. And, he hesitated, we haven't been close in a long time. I just want to understand what's going on. Nothing's going on, she snapped, standing up. You're too suspicious. I'm tired, I have kids, work, a million things to do. Forgive me if I'm not in the mood for romance. I'm not talking about romance, David stood up, feeling his anger rising. I'm talking about us. We're a team, Em. Or are we not? We're a team, she looked at him, but there was irritation in her eyes. Just give me space, okay? Not everything revolves around you. She went upstairs, leaving him in the living room. David sat, staring at the dark TV screen. He wanted to believe that she was simply tired, but something told him that wasn't the whole truth. Her distance, her phone, which she now always held face down, her late arrivals, it all added up to a picture he was afraid to admit. The next day, David dropped Sophia off at school and Jake at daycare, as usual. At the office, he tried to concentrate on his drawings, but his mind kept wandering to Emma. He remembered how she used to be laughing at his jokes, planning trips with him, hugging him at night. Now she felt like a stranger. He even thought about asking if she was seeing someone, but he dismissed the thought. Emma wasn't like that. They'd been married for 8 years and had kids. But then why did he feel like he was losing her? In the evening, Emma returned even later, almost 8. David had already fed the children, and was cleaning the kitchen. "Hi," she walked in, dropping her bag. "Sorry, I'm late. The client is delaying the meeting again." "It's okay," David nodded, wiping down the table. "I left you some pizza in the oven." "Thank you." She went to the refrigerator and got some water. "Are the kids sleeping?" "Jake, yeah, Sophie's reading." He looked at her. "Are you okay? You look, I don't know, tense." "I'm fine," she shrugged, taking a sip of water. "It's just been a long day." "That new project again?" He tried to sound neutral. "The one your colleague, Ryan, is helping, right?" "Yes." Emma looked at him, her tone sharpening. "What? Are you spying on my colleagues now?" "No." He raised his hands. "I was just asking. You talk about him a lot." "Because we work together." She put the glass down. "Oh, God, David, stop making things up. I'm not doing anything wrong." "I didn't say what you were doing." He looked into her eyes. "But you've changed, Em. I can see it. And the kids can too." "Kids?" she snorted. "Now you're dragging them in. I'm a good mother, David. Don't blame me." "I'm not accusing." He lowered his voice. "I just want us to be honest with each other." "I'm honest." She turned and went upstairs, leaving him alone. David stood looking at the empty kitchen. He wanted to believe her, but her words rang hollow. He remembered Sophia asking him yesterday why her mother was always busy, and how Jake had grown quiet when Emma raised her voice at him. Something was wrong, and he couldn't pretend it was okay anymore. Emma sat in the corner of a trendy bar in downtown Chicago, sipping a martini and scrolling through her phone. Lisa was late, as usual, but Emma didn't mind. She needed time to collect her thoughts. It had been 2 months since her affair with Ryan had become physical, and now she was living in a constant state of tension, balancing her secret life with her family. At home, she was irritable, snapping at David and the kids, but with Ryan, she felt different, desirable, free. Tonight, she wanted to tell Lisa the details, even though part of her knew it was dangerous. But Lisa was the only one who understood why she wanted this affair. Her phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. "Yesterday was incredible." "When again?" Emma smiled, remembering their last meeting at the hotel after a work meeting. She replied, "Soon, with a friend tonight, but I'll text." She reread their chat, feeling a warmth in her chest. Ryan was everything David was missing. Spontaneous, passionate, made her laugh. David, on the other hand. David was just David, reliable, but boring. Lisa burst into the bar, turning heads in her bright red dress and new shoulder bag. Sorry, traffic." She plopped down on a chair and ordered a cocktail. "You look, wow, hot. Is that a new dress?" "Yes." Emma adjusted the hem. "I bought it last week. I decided it was time to update my wardrobe." "Right," Lisa nodded. "You're not just a suburban mom anymore. Tell me, how's your Ryan? Are you still playing coworkers?" Emma laughed, but her cheeks flushed slightly. She lowered her voice, although no one was listening. "We, well, it's not just chatting anymore. We met. Regularly." "Wow, Em." Lisa clapped her hands. "Finally. How is it? Is he as hot as he looks?" "Even hotter," Emma smiled, sipping her martini. I don't know, he makes me feel different. Like I'm 25 again. We meet in hotels, sometimes after work. He says I'm incredible." "Because you are incredible." Lisa leaned closer. "And what about at home? Is David still the same boring family man, drowning in diapers and bills?" Emma snorted, nodding. "Exactly. He doesn't even notice that I've changed. He watches the news all the time or is busy with the kids. Yesterday he tried to talk about us, but I just couldn't listen. He's so predictable." "Ugh," Lisa wrinkled her nose. "I don't know how you put up with this. You're too good for this life, Em. You need someone like Ryan, not this engineer in plaid shirts." "Ha, right," Emma laughed, taking out her phone. "Look, listen to what he said yesterday. I wanted to watch a movie, and he turned on the news again. I said, maybe something romantic, and he said, choose whatever you want. And he fell asleep 10 minutes later. Oh my God, this is a nightmare. Lisa rolled her eyes. Write this to Ryan, he'll laugh. Emma opened a chat with Lisa. She didn't want to text Ryan this yet and typed, David watched the news again last night and fell asleep. Boring family man drowning in diapers and bills. Save me. Lisa laughed as she read the message. Perfect. He's straight out of a mortgage commercial. And you and Ryan are, living life to the fullest. Well, yeah, Emma shrugged, but the smile didn't leave her face. With Ryan, everything is bright. He always knows what to say, what to do. He gave me a bracelet yesterday, just like that, for no reason. Really, Lisa raised her eyebrows. This is not just flirting anymore. He's in love with you, Em. Don't make it up. Emma shook her head, but the thought flattered her. He just likes to have fun, and so do I. Yeah, have fun, Lisa winked. Look, you deserve it. Let David sit with his spaghetti and kids, and you enjoy life to the fullest. You're young, beautiful. Don't waste it on boredom. Emma nodded, but something stirred inside. She remembered Sophia asking her why she was always busy yesterday, and how Jake had cried when she raised her voice at him. But Lisa was right, she didn't have to sacrifice herself for her family. She wrote to Lisa, You're right. David doesn't even try. Yesterday he asked me what was wrong, and I almost screamed. Look at yourself. Lisa read it and laughed. Wow, write more. Has he ever done anything spontaneous? Well, other than buying milk. Ha, no, Emma typed. His idea of romance is pizza on Fridays. Ryan ordered room service last night, and David thinks Netflix is a date. Oh my God, Em, you're killing me. Lisa wiped away tears of laughter. He's like an old man, and you and Ryan are like something out of a movie. Keep going, don't stop. Emma smiled, but didn't notice how her words about David had become harsher. She wrote to Lisa, Sometimes I look at him and think, how did I ever agree to this? He's a good father, but as a husband, zero. Ryan knows how to make me happy. She didn't think about how those words sounded, how they turned David into a caricature. Lisa was adding fuel to the fire, and Emma got carried away, enjoying the feeling of superiority. At home, David was cleaning up the kitchen after dinner. Sophia and Jake were already asleep, and Emma had returned later than she had promised, smelling of alcohol and with a new energy he didn't understand. Hello, he said, stacking the dishes. Did you have a good time with Lisa? Yes, Emma threw her bag on the couch. We were just chatting. What were you doing? Dinner, kids, he shrugged. Sophia showed me her drawing for school. She wants you to see it. Tomorrow, Emma went to the refrigerator and got some water. I'm tired. David looked at her, feeling his irritation growing. She was home, but it felt like she was somewhere else. He wanted to ask what was going on, but he remembered their last conversation, when she had accused him of being suspicious. He hesitated, wiping his hands. Can we talk? You're hardly home. I know work, but the kids are bored, and so am I. Oh my God, David, she turned to him, clutching the bottle. I'm working, I'm seeing my friends. What, I'm not allowed? You want me to sit at home and cook spaghetti? No, he lowered his voice. I want you to be with us. Sophia asked me yesterday why you were always busy. Jake gets scared when you're angry. You're just what? She interrupted. Spying on me? I'm doing the best I can, David. I'm sorry if I'm not the perfect wife. That's not what I said. He looked into her eyes. But you've changed. I can feel it. Maybe I'm just tired of being just a mom and a wife, she snapped, putting the bottle on the table. Let me breathe, okay? She went upstairs, leaving him alone. David stood looking at the empty kitchen. Her words hurt, but what was more frightening was that she didn't want to talk. David sat at the kitchen table, helping Sophia with her math homework. The tablet they used for their study videos lay between them, displaying the times tables. Sophia was chewing on a pencil, frowning over the problem, and Jake was fiddling with blocks on the floor, humming something about dinosaurs. It was 6 o'clock, and Emma was working late again. David was used to her late arrivals, but today it was especially annoying. He tried to put it out of his mind, focusing on Sophia, but his suspicions, months old, were nagging at him. "Dad, is that 7 times 8? Sophia looked at him, fiddling with the piece of paper. "Let's count," David smiled, trying to appear cheerful. 7 plus 7 is 14. 7 more is 21. Go on. 56. Sophia wrote down the answer. "I got it. Well done, little bee," he patted her head. "One more, and we can watch a cartoon." The tablet vibrated, and a notification popped up on the screen. David glanced at it. It was from Ryan. The name was familiar. Emma had mentioned him as a colleague, but something about the notification, maybe the time, or the fact that it was on the family tablet, made him freeze. Sophia didn't notice, continuing to write, but David felt the blood rush to his face. "Dad, what next?" Sophia nudged him with her elbow. "Ah, now." He looked away from the screen. "Let's get to the next task." But his mind was no longer on the task. Ryan. Why was he texting Emma at night? And why on the tablet they both used? He remembered the way Emma always held her phone face down, the way she responded sharply when he asked about work. He tried to push the suspicions away, but they snowballed. "Sophie, I'll just be a minute," David said, standing up. "Check your answers for now." He picked up the tablet and walked into the living room, his heart pounding. It felt wrong to check her messages. He trusted Emma. They'd been married 8 years and had 2 kids. But something told him he needed to know. He unlocked the tablet, they shared the password, Sophia's birthday, and opened the messenger. A notification from Ryan read, "Tomorrow at 5, same hotel." David froze, feeling the floor shift beneath him. He scrolled through the messages, and each one hit him like a blow. Ryan had written, "You were incredible yesterday. Can't wait for next time." Emma had written, "You were too. Just be careful," David asked again yesterday. Then came the messages about meetings, about how they almost got caught in the office, about how Ryan wanted to steal her for the weekend. But worst of all, it was what she had said about him. Emma wrote, "David is so boring. He was watching the news again yesterday and whining about me being late, as if he knows what it's like to be me. And he's drowning in diapers and bills. Sometimes I wonder how I ever ended up with him. And most painfully, you make me live, Ryan. With you, I'm more than just a suburban mom." David lowered the tablet, his throat tightening. He had expected anything: fatigue, stress, even a fight with a coworker. But not this, not betrayal, and not those words which cut like a knife. Boring, drowning in diapers. Was that how she saw him? The man who drove the kids to school, cooked dinner, paid for their house? The father who read them fairy tales? "Dad, I'm done," Sophia shouted from the kitchen. "Well done, I'm coming," he replied, but his voice was shaking. He wiped his eyes, not noticing that they were wet, and returned to the table. Sophia looked at him and frowned. "Dad, why are you sad?" "It's okay, little bee." He forced himself to smile. "My eyes are just tired. Let's check your answers." He helped her finish the task, but his mind was elsewhere. He saw Emma's messages in front of his eyes, her words about Ryan, about him. He felt betrayed not only as a husband, but as a father. She had mocked their lives, their family, their children. How could she? It was nearly 8 when Emma returned home. She walked in, dropping her bag, looking tired, but with the same energy that now seemed alien to David. "Hi," she said, kissing Jake as he ran up to her. "It smells like pizza. Did you order?" "Yes," David nodded without looking at her. "In the oven, if you like." "Cool." She walked to the refrigerator. "I was delayed. The client was redoing everything again." David clenched his fists under the table. The client. Another lie. He wanted to scream, to ask who Ryan was, why she was writing such things about him. But the children were there, and he couldn't. "Mom, will you look at my drawing?" Sophia ran up with a piece of paper. "It's for school." "Of course, my dear." Emma took the drawing, but her gaze was absent-minded. "Very beautiful. B, how are you? Dad helped me with math, Sophia smiled. He said I was a genius. Well done, Emma patted her head, but immediately looked at her phone. I'll be right back, just answering a message. She walked into the hallway, and David felt anger boiling. A message. From Ryan, of course. He stood up and began clearing away the plates to keep his hands busy. After dinner, Emma put Jake to bed while David read to Sophia. When they were alone in the living room, he couldn't stand it anymore. We need to talk, he said, turning off the TV. About what? She looked at him, crossing her arms. I'm tired, David. The children just fell asleep. I know, he lowered his voice. But this is important. Are you? Are you really at work all the time? Or is there something else? Oh my God, again? She rolled her eyes. How much longer? I'm working, David. I have projects, clients. What do you want? I want the truth. He looked into her eyes, his voice breaking. I saw your tablet, the message from Ryan, and more than one. Emma froze and her face turned pale. Have you been checking my tablet? She raised her voice. Are you spying on me? I wasn't spying, he shook his head. I was helping Sophia, and it came out. Emma, what's going on? Who's Ryan? And why are you writing that I'm boring, that I'm drowning in diapers? She opened her mouth, but found no words. David continued, feeling the pain pouring out. You write to him that he makes you live. And me, and the children, are we a burden to you? You call our life boredom and his freedom. David, you don't understand, she finally spoke, but her voice was weak. It's not like that. It's just talk, nothing serious. Chit-chat, he raised his voice, but then lowered it so as not to wake the children. You meet him in hotels, Emma. You write that you regret being with me. This is not chit-chat. This is betrayal. Don't scream. She took a step toward him, but he retreated. I didn't mean for that to happen. It just happened. It's just. I'm confused, David. Work, kids, all this. Don't blame it on the kids, he interrupted, his eyes glittering. You chose this. You chose him. And you laughed at me while I drove Sophia to school and fed Jake. How could you? Emma was silent, looking at the floor. David waited, hoping she would say something, something that would explain, something that would fix it. But she only muttered, I don't know what to say. Then don't talk. He turned and walked into the kitchen, feeling his world crumble. He stood at the sink, clutching the edge of the counter as tears stung his eyes. He hadn't just lost his wife. He had lost the family he had spent 8 years building. David sat in his lawyer's office in downtown Chicago, staring at a stack of papers on his desk. The office was cramped and smelled of old paper and coffee, but the lawyer, a middle-aged woman named Linda Carter, radiated confidence. It had been a week since David had learned of Emma's infidelity, and every minute since then had been a blow. He couldn't sleep in their house anymore, pretending everything was normal, but for Sophia and Jake's sake, he was trying to keep his cool. He had come here today to figure out what to do next. So, Mr. Wilson, Linda put her pen down and looked at him. You want to file for divorce on the grounds of adultery. It's possible in Illinois, but I must warn you, these cases can be complicated. Do you have proof? Yes, David nodded, feeling his throat tighten. Messages on the tablet. I took a picture of them. She was seeing another man, and she was writing about him. About us. Okay, Linda wrote something down. This will help if this goes to court. What about the kids? You have 2, right? Sophia, she's 6, and Jake, he's 4. David looked out the window. I want joint custody. I don't want them to suffer more than they have to. Emma, she's a good mother, despite everything. Understood, Linda nodded. Joint custody is a reasonable option if you can both agree. We'll start by filing an application and propose a temporary custody schedule. Where do you live now? At home for now, he hesitated. But I'm planning to rent an apartment. I can't stay there. It's too hard. That's okay, Linda looked at him sympathetically. The main thing is to minimize the stress on the kids. Agree on a schedule with your wife until the court approves custody. And David, I know it's hard, but try not to discuss the details with the kids. They'll feel the changes anyway. I know, he sighed. Thank you. What next? I'll prepare the paperwork, Linda said. You'll have it to sign in a couple of days. Once it's filed, Emma will be served with notice and she'll have time to respond. If she agrees to divorce and custody, the process will move along more quickly. If not, well, we'll deal with it as it comes in. David nodded, feeling the weight on his shoulders become real. Divorce. The word sounded foreign, like it belonged to someone else. But he saw no other way out. Emma had betrayed him, their family, and her words, boring, drowned in diapers, still stung. When he got home, he found Emma in the kitchen, making sandwiches for the kids. Sophia was drawing at the table, and Jake was building a tower of blocks. Emma looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes, but David felt no pity, only pain and anger. We need to talk, he said as the children ran into the living room. Without the children. Emma tensed as she placed the knife on the table. About what? Her voice was quiet, but there was a sense of alarm in it. I saw a lawyer. David looked her in the eye. I'm filing for divorce, and I want joint custody of Sophia and Jake. Emma turned pale, but did not look away. Divorce? She repeated, as if tasting the word. Are you serious? Yes, he nodded. After everything you've done, Emma, I can't go on like this. You know why. She opened her mouth, but closed it, unable to find the words. David continued. I rent an apartment nearby. I'm moving this week, but I don't want the children to suffer. We'll agree on when I'll pick them up until the court decides. You're just going to leave? Her voice wavered. What am I going to tell the kids? That their dad ran away? Don't you dare, he raised his voice, but then lowered it. I wasn't the one who ran away. You were the one who destroyed our family. You and your Ryan. Emma looked away, clenching her fists. I didn't mean for this to happen, she muttered. I was confused, David. It was a mistake. Mistake? He shook his head. You dated him for months. You wrote that I was boring, that you regretted our life. It was not a mistake, Emma. It was a choice. She was silent, and David felt his anger give way to fatigue. I don't want to quarrel, he said. For the sake of the children. Let's agree. I'll take them on weekends, you on weekdays, until the court decides. Okay, she nodded, looking at the floor. But, David, can't we try? For them. Try? He looked at her, and his voice became cold. You betrayed me, Emma. I can't trust you, and I don't want to live with someone who laughs at me behind my back. He went upstairs, leaving her in the kitchen. Emma stood there, looking at the half-finished sandwiches, feeling like her world was falling apart. She wanted to scream, to beg him to stay, but she knew he was right. She had ruined their marriage, and now she would have to live with it. 3 days later, David moved into a small apartment 10 minutes away. It was a one-room studio with bare walls and old furniture, but he didn't plan on staying there long. He bought a fold-out couch for Sophia and Jake, put their toys in the corner, and hung their drawings on the refrigerator. He wanted them to feel comfortable even if his own heart was broken. On Saturday, he took the kids for their first day off. Sophia and Jake were happy, but their questions cut like a knife. Dad, why don't you live at home? Sophia asked, sitting in the back seat of his car. Your mother and I have decided to live apart for a while, David said, trying to speak calmly. But we both love you, and I will see you all the time. Will you come back? Jake looked at him hopefully. I don't know, champion. David swallowed the lump in his throat. But I'll always be there, I promise. In the apartment, they baked pizza and watched cartoons, but David saw Sophia sometimes go silent, looking out the window. Jake was too young to understand, but he clung to him more than usual. David hugged them, but he felt helpless. He couldn't protect them from the pain Emma had caused. Emma, left in the family home, felt lost. Without David, the house seemed empty, despite the children's laughter. She walked from room to room, looking at their family photos, and each snapshot was a reproach. She tried to be a normal mom, making breakfast, taking Sophia to dance classes, reading to Jake, but nothing felt right. She stopped texting Ryan, not because she wanted to improve, but because she didn't know what she wanted. Lisa called, but Emma didn't answer. Her words about a breath of freedom now sounded like a mockery. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Emma sat in the kitchen with a glass of wine. She opened her laptop and found the lawyer's website, but closed it, hesitating to call. She wanted to fight for the kids, for the house, but how? She knew David had the right to divorce her, and her infidelity would stand up to her in court. She remembered his face when he talked about her texts, and she felt tears sting her eyes. She had betrayed not only him, but Sophia, Jake, their family. Mom, Sophia appeared in the doorway, holding a stuffed rabbit. Are you crying? No, honey, Emma wiped her eyes. I'm just tired. Why aren't you sleeping? I miss my dad. Sophia came closer. Will he come back? Emma hugged her, feeling her heart squeeze. I don't know, honeybee, she said, but we'll figure it out. We'll always be a family, okay? Sophia nodded, but her eyes were sad. Emma had put her to bed, but she couldn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling, thinking about David in his new apartment, about the children who were suffering, about herself who didn't know who she was anymore. She wanted to take it all back, but she knew it was impossible. The divorce was just the beginning, and she would have to live with the consequences of her choices. Emma sat on the living room couch, looking at Jake's scattered toys and Sophia's sketchbook. The house was quiet, the kids were asleep upstairs, but the silence felt heavy, like the walls were pressing in on her. It had been 2 weeks since David had moved into his own apartment, and their lives had changed. Emma tried to keep everything under control, driving Sophia to school, driving Jake to daycare, making dinners, but every day she felt the emptiness growing inside her. She knew it was her fault, her affair with Ryan, her lies, her teasing of David. And the worst thing was watching the children suffer. Sophia, usually chatty and cheerful, became quieter. She no longer talked about school with such enthusiasm, and her drawings became darker. Instead of bright bees and flowers, she drew lonely trees. Jake, on the contrary, became capricious. He cried over little things, clung to Emma, or refused to eat. Emma tried to be her old mother for them, but every question or look from them was like an accusation. On Saturday morning, Emma was making breakfast pancakes, Sophia's favorite. She hoped it would lift their spirits before the weekend, when David was taking them back to his apartment. Sophia sat at the table, idly picking at a pancake, while Jake slathered syrup on a plate. Sophie, eat it before it gets cold, Emma said, placing a glass of juice in front of her. I added chocolate chips, just the way you like it. I don't want it. Sophia pushed the plate away. It's not tasty. Not tasty. Emma frowned. You've always loved pancakes. Not today, Sophia shrugged, looking at the table. Emma sighed, feeling her patience melting away. She turned to Jake, who had dropped his spoon on the floor. Jake, be careful. She picked up the spoon and wiped the table. Why do you always drop everything? I want to go to Dad, Jake muttered, looking at her with big eyes. When is he coming back? Emma froze, feeling her throat tighten. She knew this question was coming, but it hit her anyway. Daddy's coming today, she said, trying to sound calm. You'll spend the weekend with him. It'll be fun. But why doesn't he live here? Sophia looked up, and there was a mixture of anger and sadness in her eyes. Did you kick him out? No, honey. Emma sat down next to you, trying to smile. No one kicked anyone out. Dad and I just decided to live apart, but we both love you, and that won't change. Then why are you always angry? Sophia crossed her arms. You yell at Jake at me, and Dad's not here anymore. I'm not angry, Emma shook her head, but her voice wavered. It's just, I have a lot to do. Work, you home. I'm trying. You're not trying, Sophia looked her in the eyes. You're always on the phone or somewhere else, and Dad was home. Emma felt her daughter's words cut her. She wanted to argue, to say she was a good mother, but the truth was, Sophia was right. She had been distant, consumed with her secret life with Ryan, and now with guilt over the breakup of her family. "I'm sorry, honeybee," Emma took her hand. "I promise I'll be better. We'll figure it out, okay?" Sophia nodded, but did not answer. Jake, who had been listening to them, suddenly began to cry. "I want Daddy." He threw the spoon on the table. "Where is Daddy?" "Hey, baby." Emma picked him up, but he struggled. "Daddy's coming soon. Everything's going to be okay." But Jake kept crying, and Emma felt tears stinging her own eyes. She sat him down on the couch and turned on a cartoon to distract him, but inside she was screaming. It was her fault. She had ruined their family, and now her children were suffering. When David arrived to pick up the kids at noon, Emma answered the door, trying to look collected. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, but he looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. They had barely spoken since the night he announced the divorce, only brief texts about the kids' schedules. "Hey," he said, looking at Sophia and Jake, who ran out to him. "Ready for the weekend?" "Dad." Jake rushed to him, and Sophia hugged him, but remained silent. "I packed their bags." Emma pointed to the backpacks by the door. "There are clothes, toys, Sophia's favorite rabbit." "Thank you," David nodded, but didn't look at her. "I'll bring them Sunday evening." "Okay," Emma hesitated. "If you need anything, call." "Yeah." He picked up the backpacks and led the children to the car. Emma watched them go and felt the house become empty. She closed the door and sank down onto the couch. The silence was deafening. She opened her phone, but there were no more messages from Ryan. She had stopped answering after David found out the truth. Lisa had written a couple of times, but Emma had ignored her. She didn't want to hear more advice about a breath of freedom. Freedom had brought her here to a broken family and children who were suffering. That evening, Emma tried to occupy herself. She cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, but it all seemed pointless. She turned on the TV, but the news, David's favorite habit, only reminded her of him. She turned off the screen and grabbed a glass of wine, but even that didn't help. She remembered Sophia's words, "You're always on your phone or something." And Jake's, "I want Daddy." She put the glass down and covered her face with her hands, feeling tears streaming down her cheeks. The next day, Emma decided to take a break and went to the mall. She wandered around the stores, but nothing made her happy. As she passed the children's section, she stopped at the toy aisle and bought a stuffed dinosaur for Jake and a paint set for Sophia. Maybe that would make them smile. When David dropped the kids off on Sunday, Sophia was quieter than usual, and Jake ran straight to his blocks but looked cranky. "How was your weekend?" Emma asked, helping them take off their jackets. "Okay," David shrugged. "We baked pizza, watched cartoons. Sophie showed off her dance for the play." "Cool," Emma smiled at Sophia. "Will you show me?" "Maybe." Sophia shrugged and went to her room. "Is she okay?" Emma looked at David. "She's kind of withdrawn." "She misses you," he said, his voice cold. "And the way things used to be, both of them." Emma nodded, feeling the guilt press down harder. "I'm trying, David," she murmured. "I don't want them to suffer." "Then why did you do it?" He looked into her eyes. "Were you thinking about them when you met him? When you wrote that I was boring?" "I?" She trailed off, at a loss for words. "I didn't mean to. It was a mistake." "A mistake doesn't last for months, Emma." He shook his head. "I'll talk to a lawyer tomorrow. We'll start sharing custody officially." He left, leaving her at the door. Emma watched his car drive away, feeling her heart clench. She walked into the house and found Sophia in her room, sitting on the bed with the drawing. "Hey, honey." Emma sat down next to her. "What are you drawing?" "Nothing." Sophia closed the album. "Just like that." "I bought you paints." Emma took a set out of her bag. "Want to try?" "I don't know." Sophia shrugged. "I'm not happy." Emma hugged her, but Sophia didn't respond. Jake ran in holding the new dinosaur, but immediately dropped it and started crying. "I want to go to Daddy." He stamped his foot. Daddy will be here soon. Emma caught him, but he struggled. Baby, I'm here. But Jake kept crying, and Emma felt her own tears streaming down her face. She had destroyed their family. Emma stood outside the school hall where the parent-teacher conference was taking place, clutching her bag. She usually loved these gatherings to chat with other moms, to hear about school events, to feel part of a community. But today the air felt heavy, and the looks she received were cold. It had been a month since David had filed for divorce, and rumors of her infidelity had spread like poison through their suburb. Emma wasn't sure how it had started, but now every whisper behind her back felt like a blow. It all started when David confided in his friend Mike over a beer. He didn't want to gossip, he just wanted to get it off his chest, to let out the pain that had been choking him since discovering Emma's texts with Ryan. But Mike confided in his wife, Kelly, who told her friends from her school's TA. Kelly was one of those people who always knew everything about everyone, and soon Emma's story, the cheating wife who broke up her family for a coworker, was the talk of playgrounds and moms' chat rooms. Emma walked into the room and sat in the back row, hoping to go unnoticed. But she could feel the eyes on her. The two mothers in the front, Jessica and Laura, turned to look at her and then away, whispering. Emma pretended to check her phone, but her heart was pounding. She knew what they were talking about. She had heard snippets of conversation last week when she picked up Sophia from school. Emma? Yeah, the one who cheated on her husband. Poor David, he's such a good dad. The principal started talking about the upcoming play, but Emma was barely listening. She remembered how, 6 months ago, she had been at the center of this community, organizing school fairs, baking cupcakes for parties, and laughing with the other moms. Now she was an outcast. She looked at Jessica, who used to invite her to barbecues, but now didn't even say hello. Emma pressed her lips together, feeling anger mingle with shame. After the meeting, she wanted to leave quickly, but Sophia's teacher, Miss Carter, called out to her. Mrs. Wilson, may I have a word? She said, smiling but with caution in her voice. Of course, Emma paused, trying to look collected. Sophia has been a little withdrawn lately. Miss Carter lowered her voice. She's been socializing less with her friends and not being as active in class. I know you and your husband have been going through changes at home. Maybe we should talk to her. Yes, I know, Emma nodded, feeling her cheeks burn. We try to keep the children from suffering. Thank you for telling me. If you need anything, let me know. Miss Carter touched her hand, but Emma felt pity in it, not support. She walked out into the parking lot, clutching the keys so tightly they dug into her palm. In the car, she turned on the radio to drown out her thoughts, but Miss Carter's words echoed in her head. Sophia had withdrawn, because of her betrayal, her lies, her selfishness. At home, Emma tried to get things done. She cooked dinner, put away Jake's toys, checked Sophia's homework. But the kids weren't in the mood. Sophia was sitting in her room drawing, and Jake was being capricious, refusing to eat his pasta. Jake, please eat some. Emma placed the plate in front of him. You like pasta. I don't want to. He pushed the plate away. I want to go to Dad. Daddy's coming tomorrow, Emma sighed, feeling her patience snapping. Eat what they give you. You're always angry. Sophia looked at her from behind the table. Why aren't you like you used to be? I'm not angry, Emma raised her voice, but immediately fell silent when she saw Sophia lower her head. I'm sorry, honey. I'm just tired. She stood up to put the dishes away, but inside she was screaming. She wanted to be a good mom, but every day she felt like she was failing. She remembered Lisa calling Ryan a breath of freedom, and how she laughed at David, calling him boring. Now that freedom was loneliness, and her children were suffering. The next day, Emma went to Sophia's dance practice. Usually, other mothers would be there, chatting about their kids and school, but today, when she walked in, the conversations died down. Kelly, who was standing with a group of mothers, looked at her and turned away. Emma sat off to the side, pretending to read something on her phone, but she heard snatches of whispers. It's her. The poor kids. David is so good. She clutched the phone, feeling her cheeks burn. She wanted to stand up and say that they didn't know the whole truth, that she wasn't a monster. But what is the truth? That she cheated on her husband, that she laughed at him with her friend. She knew she deserved their judgment. After training, Sophia ran out holding a bottle of water. "Mom, did you see my pirouette?" she asked, but her voice was not as happy as before. "Yes, honey, you were great," Emma smiled, but Sophia just nodded and went to the car. That evening, Emma opened her messenger to message Lisa. She hadn't spoken to her since the rumors started, but she needed support. She wrote, "Liz, where are you? Everything has gone downhill. I need to talk." There was no answer. She called, but Lisa didn't pick up. Emma sent another message, "Please call me back." But Lisa didn't answer. The next day, Emma learned from another mom that Lisa had been to Kelly's party on Saturday, the same Kelly who was now whispering about her. Emma realized that Lisa was avoiding her. She didn't want to be part of the scandal involving that Emma. Emma sat in the kitchen, staring at her phone, feeling the loneliness in her chest. Lisa, her only friend, the one who had pushed her toward Ryan, had now abandoned her as soon as trouble began to brew. On Friday, Emma received a message in her parents' group chat about a neighbor's barbecue, but her name wasn't mentioned. Before, she would have been on the guest list, baking her signature salad, laughing with the others. Now she was simply ignored. She wanted to text, to ask, but she couldn't bring herself to. Instead, she put her phone away and went to Sophia, who was sitting in her room. "Hey, honeybee," Emma sat down on the bed. "Do you want to watch a movie? We can order pizza." "I don't know," Sophia shrugged, not looking up from the album. "I'm not happy." "I'm sorry, honey," Emma took her hand. "I know everything is weird right now, but I'm here and I love you." "Do you love your dad?" Sophia looked into her eyes. Why did he leave? Emma froze, unsure of what to say. She wanted to lie, to say that everything would be fine, but the words stuck. "Dad and I, we have problems," she said finally. "But we both love you and Jake. It's not your fault." Sophia nodded, but her eyes were empty. Emma hugged her, but felt her daughter pull away. When Sophia fell asleep, Emma went downstairs and found Jake playing with dinosaurs, but looking sad. "Mom, is Dad coming tomorrow?" he asked, holding the T-Rex. "Yes, baby." Emma sat down next to him. "He'll pick you up in the morning." "I want him to live here." Jake looked at her. "Why can't he?" "It's hard," Emma swallowed, "but he'll always be your dad." Eric started to talk about Emma's schedule and her involvement in school activities, but Linda interrupted. "Your Honor, we would like to note that Mrs. Wilson's behavior in recent months has caused significant changes in the family. Her adultery, confirmed by correspondence, has resulted in emotional stress for the children. Sophia has become withdrawn, and Jake has become moody, as confirmed by the school psychologist's report." Emma felt the blood rush to her face. She looked at Eric, expecting him to object, but he only whispered, "Calm down, we will answer." "Mr. Johnson," the judge looked at him. "Your Honor," Eric stood up. "My client acknowledges her mistakes, but they do not reflect on her ability as a mother. She continues to care for her children despite her personal difficulties. We have provided letters from teachers attesting to her involvement." The judge nodded, but her gaze was unreadable. "I'll take that into account. As for finances, are there any disputes?" Linda spoke again. "Mr. Wilson proposes to divide the family home after it is sold, but Mrs. Wilson insists on keeping it, which creates a financial strain. We believe that selling the house and dividing the proceeds equally would be fair." Emma clenched her fists. She didn't want to lose the house, the place where Sophia and Jake had grown up. But Eric warned her that her position was weak, given that David was paying most of the mortgage. "We'll continue our discussion in 2 weeks," the judge said. "I want to see income statements and proposals for a custody schedule." The session is adjourned. Emma walked out of the room, feeling her legs buckle. Eric walked beside her, leafing through notes. "That's okay, Emma," he said. "The judge hasn't made a decision yet. We need more evidence that you're a stable parent." "Stable?" She looked at him. They pulled out my betrayal. How can I prove anything when everyone is against me? Get it together, Eric paused. Show that you care about the kids. Be at every school event, help with homework, keep the house tidy. The court is looking at it. Emma nodded, but she felt crushed. She looked at David, who was talking to Linda at the exit. He looked tired but determined, and it scared her. She wanted to talk, but he left without looking at her. At home, Emma tried to maintain normalcy. She cooked dinner chicken and rice, Jake's favorite, but the kids were in a bad mood. Sophia sat at the table, silently picking at her food, and Jake refused to eat. Jake, please try this. Emma placed the plate in front of him. I made it just the way you like it. I don't want to. He pushed the plate away. I want to go to Dad. Daddy will pick you up tomorrow, Emma sighed, feeling her patience melting away. Eat what they give you. You're always angry, Sophia looked at her. Why can't you and Dad live together? Sophie, we discussed this. Emma tried to speak calmly. Your dad and I love you, but we live separately now. Because of you, Sophia crossed her arms. I heard Mrs. Kelly say you did something bad. Emma froze, feeling the blood drain from her face. She knew the rumors had reached her parents, but she didn't think they would affect Sophia. Darling, don't listen to what others say, she said, sitting down next to him. This is an adult matter. We'll figure it out. But you don't answer. Sophia looked into her eyes. Why did Dad leave? Emma opened her mouth, but the words stuck. She wanted to lie, but Sophia was too smart for that. I made a mistake, she said finally. But I love you and Jake, and Dad does too. Sophia nodded, but went to her room without finishing her meal. Jake began to cry, and Emma held him close, feeling her own tears streaming down. She had destroyed their family, and now even the children knew it was her fault. The following week, Emma went to see her lawyer to discuss strategy. Eric sat at a desk covered in papers. Emma, we need more evidence, he said. The judge sees that you care about the children, but the betrayal undermines trust. David provided a psychologist's report that says Sophia and Jake are suffering from the changes. That's against you. What should I do? She looked at him, clutching her bag. I'm with them every day. I take them to school, to dances, I read to them. I'm a good mother. I believe you, Eric nodded. But the court looks at the facts. Collect letters from teachers, neighbors, anyone who will confirm your role, and stop all contact with that man. This is important. Emma nodded, but inside she was seething. She hadn't spoken to Ryan since the night David had found out the truth, but his name kept coming up in court, a reminder of her mistake. She wanted to prove she had changed, but how could she when everyone saw her as nothing more than an unfaithful wife? In the evening, she helped Sophia with her homework, but she was distant. Mom, Dad said he wants us to live with him half the time, Sophia said, not looking at her. Is that true? Yes, Emma nodded, feeling a twinge of pain. He wants to be with you, and so do I. But I don't want to live in two places. Sophia looked at her. Why can't you be together? It's difficult, dear. Emma took her hand. But we'll find a way to make you happy. Sophia went to bed, and Emma stayed in the kitchen, staring at the empty table. She remembered David in the courtroom, his cold eyes, his determination. He would not forgive her, and she did not blame him. But the thought of losing her children, even partially, was unbearable. A week later, they met again in court. David provided new documents, a schedule showing how he picked up the children, helped with homework, and drove them to practice. His lawyer again mentioned Emma's infidelity, and the judge made a note of it. Mrs. Wilson, the judge said, looking at Emma, I can see that you care about the children, but I need more evidence of your stability. Provide it by the next hearing. Emma nodded, tears stinging her eyes. After the meeting, she approached David in the parking lot, unable to bear it any longer. David, please, she said as he unlocked the car. Can we talk? Not in court, but as people? About what? He looked at her, and his voice was cold. Do you want to talk about how you dated him? or how you wrote that I was boring. I don't want that, she shook her head. I want the kids to be happy. We can work it out without that, without going to court. You brought this to court, Emma. He stepped toward the car. I want equal custody. Children deserve both parents, even if you've forgotten what that means. Emma sat in the kitchen with a cold cup of coffee, scrolling through her phone. The house was quiet. Sophia and Jake were spending the weekend at David's, and without their laughter or tantrums, it felt empty. It had been 4 months since David had filed for divorce, and the custody and financial battles were still dragging on, wearing her down. Emma tried to hold on for the kids, but every day she felt the guilt and loneliness tightening around her. She opened Instagram, hoping to distract herself, but the first thing that caught her eye was a photo posted by a friend from school, Kelly. In the picture, David was smiling, holding Jake on his shoulders, and a woman stood next to him, smiling warmly, hugging Sophia. The caption read, "Fun day at the park with friends." Emma zoomed in on the photo, her heart clenching. She recognized the woman Caitlin, the art teacher at Sophia's school. Emma had heard of her from Sophia, but she hadn't realized she was so close to David. She scrolled through Kelly's feed and found more photos. David and Caitlin at Sophia's school play, Caitlin and Jake making crafts, even one of the 4 of them eating ice cream. The comments were full of excitement. What a cute couple. David deserves to be happy. Emma closed the app, but the images wouldn't go away. David looked happier than he had been with her in years. And the kids, too. She stood up to get some water, but her hands were shaking. A jealousy she hadn't expected pricked her like a needle. She had no right to be jealous. She had ruined their marriage. She had cheated on him. She had laughed at him. But watching him build a new life, watching her children warmly treat another woman, was unbearable. Emma looked at the family photo on the wall them on the beach, all smiling, and felt tears sting her eyes. She had lost something precious, and she was only now beginning to understand how much. On Monday morning, Emma drove Sophia to school. Sophia usually chatted about her business, but today she was quieter, holding her backpack on her lap. "How was your weekend with Dad?" Emma asked, trying to sound casual. "Okay," Sophia shrugged. "We went to the park." And Caitlin was there. "Caitlin," Emma gripped the steering wheel. "Your art teacher." "Yeah," Sophia nodded. "She's cool. She taught me how to draw a butterfly, and she gave Jake dinosaur stickers." "That's great," Emma forced a smile. "And Dad, does he see her often?" "I don't know," Sophia looked out the window. "They're just friends, but she's kind, and Dad smiles when she's around." Emma nodded, but inside she was seething. She wanted to ask more, but she was afraid that Sophia would notice her feelings. She parked at the school and helped Sophia take out her backpack. "Have a nice day, little bee," she said, kissing the top of her head. "Bye, Mom," Sophia ran to her friends, but Emma watched her go, feeling loneliness squeeze her chest. At the office, Emma tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept wandering to David and Caitlin. She remembered Sophia saying he was smiling. When was the last time he had smiled with her? She opened Facebook and found Caitlin's profile. Her page was public. Photos with her students, with her family, with David and the kids at the park. Caitlin was plain blonde hair, a soft smile, no makeup. Nothing like Lisa, or even Emma, who bought bodycon dresses to go out with Ryan. But it was precisely this plainness that seemed to appeal to David. Emma closed her laptop, feeling jealousy mingled with guilt. She hadn't spoken to Ryan since the night David found out the truth, and she hadn't seen Lisa, who had disappeared as soon as the rumors spread. Her life was now work, children, and trial, and David had moved on. He'd found someone who seemed to appreciate his kindness, his reliability, something Emma had mocked. That evening, when the kids returned from David's, Emma was making dinner macaroni and cheese, trying to create a cozy atmosphere. Jake was sitting at the table playing with a dinosaur, and Sophia was leafing through a scrapbook. "Mom, Caitlin said I could draw a bee for the show," Sophia said, not looking up. "She thinks I'm good at drawing." "That's cool, honey." Emma turned away from the stove. "Will you show me the drawing?" "Maybe," Sophia shrugged. Dad said he'd come to the show. And Caitlin, too. Great, Emma nodded, but her smile was strained. And Jake, what were you doing at Dad's? We baked cookies, Jake perked up. Caitlin gave me a dinosaur. He showed a sticker on his t-shirt. Emma felt her heart clench. Caitlin was already a part of their lives, baking cookies, giving them stickers, teaching them how to draw. She was doing what Emma should have been doing, but instead she was wasting her time with Ryan. That sounds fun, she said, setting down the plates. Eat while it's hot. But at dinner, the children were quieter than usual. Sophia picked at her pasta and Jake spilled his juice, causing Emma to flare up. Jake, be careful. She grabbed the napkin. How many times have I asked? I didn't mean to. He looked at her, ready to cry. Okay, sorry, Emma sighed, wiping down the table. It's been a long day. You always say that, Sophia looked at her. Why don't you smile like Dad? Emma froze, unsure of what to say. She wanted to say that she was trying, that it hurt, but instead she muttered, I'm trying, honeybee. Let's finish eating and watch a cartoon. After dinner, Emma put the kids to bed and sat on the couch with her phone. She opened the photo of David and Caitlin again, feeling jealousy mingle with regret. She remembered the way David had looked at her before with warmth, with love. Now he looked at Caitlin that way, and it was her fault. She had lost him because she hadn't appreciated his kindness, his devotion. And now he was building a new life where her children were happy with another woman. The next day, Emma went to see her lawyer, Eric, to discuss the trial. He was sitting at a desk covered in papers. Emma, the news isn't good, he said, looking at her. David's lawyer has presented new evidence, a psychologist's report that says the children are adjusting to his new home. He's pushing for equal custody, and the judge is leaning toward that. But I'm their mother, Emma squeezed her bag. I'm with them every day. Why doesn't that count? It is, Eric nodded. But your infidelity works against you. The judge sees that David is a stable parent, and now he has a partner who helps with the kids. That strengthens his position. Partner, Emma looked at him. You mean Caitlin? Yes, Eric leafed through the documents. She's mentioned in the report as a positive influence. Sophia and Jake are good to her. Emma nodded, but inside she was seething. Caitlin was a positive influence, and she was an unfaithful wife who had destroyed the family. She wanted to scream that it was unfair, but she knew it was her own fault. What should I do? She asked, trying not to cry. Keep being a mother, Eric said. Be at all the events, help the kids, keep the house in order, and avoid any mistakes. The judge is watching you. Emma returned home feeling crushed. She wanted to be the mother Eric had talked about, but every day was a struggle. She turned on the TV, but saw an advert for a family holiday and turned it off. She couldn't watch Happy Families when she knew hers was broken. That evening, when David dropped off the children, Emma noticed Sophia holding a new drawing a bee drawn with Caitlin. It's for the exhibit, Sophia said, showing it to her. Caitlin helped. Beautiful, Emma smiled, but her voice wavered. You're great. David stood at the door, looking at the children. I'll pick them up on Wednesday, he said, not looking at Emma. If you need anything, write. Okay, she nodded, but when he turned around, she couldn't resist. David, can we talk? For a minute. He looked at her, and his gaze was cold. About what? Oh, Caitlin, Emma lowered her voice so the kids wouldn't hear. Sophia and Jake talk about her a lot. Is she serious in your life? It's none of your business, Emma, he shook his head. She's good, and the kids are comfortable with her. That's all that matters. Emma hesitated. I'm glad they're happy, but it's hard for me. Are you having a hard time? His voice became sharper. You destroyed our family, Emma. You have no right to complain. He walked away, leaving her standing in the doorway. Emma closed the door and leaned against it, feeling the tears streaming down her face. She had lost David, and now Caitlin was taking her place not just in his life, but in the hearts of her children. She realized that his kindness, his love, had been rare, but she had thrown it away for a fleeting passion. Emma sat in the courtroom, looking down at her clasped hands as the judge read the verdict. The room was as cold and gray as the last time, but the tension felt different today. It was final. 5 months of litigation, of custody and finances, of charges and pain, had led to this moment. David sat across the aisle, next to his lawyer, Linda, his face unreadable. Emma could feel his gaze, but she didn't dare look up. She knew she deserved his coldness, his pain. She had destroyed their family, and now she had to live with it. Based on the evidence presented, the judge's voice was level. I awarded joint custody of Sophia and Jake Wilson to both parents with equal time sharing. Mr. Wilson will take the children half the week, including weekends, on an agreed-upon schedule. Financial responsibilities will be divided equally, including education and medical expenses. The home will be sold, and the proceeds will be divided between the parties. Emma nodded, though every word was a blow. Joint custody was better than losing the kids, but selling the house, the place where Sophia and Jake had grown up, where she and David had built their life, felt like the end of everything. She looked at her lawyer, Eric, who whispered, "We're going to have to go through this." "This is a good outcome, Emma. You retained equal rights." "Yes," she muttered, but inside she felt empty. She wanted to keep the family together, not divide her time with the children like a schedule. After the meeting, Emma walked out into the parking lot, where the cold March wind whipped her face. David was standing by his car, talking to Linda. She wanted to go over to him to say something, but what? Sorry. Thank you for not taking the kids. She just watched him get into his car and drive away, leaving her alone. At home, Emma walked into the living room, where Jake's toys and Sophia's scrapbook were still lying around. The house had been her sanctuary, but now it felt foreign. She knew she'd have to move soon. The realtor had already scheduled showings. She sat on the couch, looking at the family photo on the wall, them at the beach, Sophia laughing, Jake holding a shell, David hugging her. Emma closed her eyes, feeling tears streaming down her cheeks. She'd lost this not because David was bad, but because she'd given in to the bright life that Lisa called freedom. Lisa disappeared from her life. After rumors of Emma's infidelity spread, she stopped answering her calls and texts. Emma realized that Lisa was never a real friend. She loved drama, as long as it didn't affect her. Her words about a breath of freedom, her mockery of David pushed Emma towards Ryan, but when everything fell apart, Lisa simply ran away. Emma didn't blame her. She made her own choice, but now she saw how easily she succumbed to the influence of others. She thought of Ryan, his smile, his compliments, his passion. It had seemed so important then, but now it was empty. She hadn't spoken to him since the night David found out, but his shadow still hung over her. The judge had mentioned her betrayal, her parents at school had whispered, even Sophia knew her mother had done something bad. Emma wanted to erase it, but she knew the past couldn't be changed. That evening, Sophia and Jake returned from David's. Emma opened the door and Jake rushed towards her, holding a new dinosaur. "Mom, look," he showed the toy. "Caitlin bought it." Emma smiled, but her heart sank. Caitlin. She'd heard about her from the kids, seen photos on social media of David and her looking happy. Sophia had mentioned her, too, how she'd helped with the drawing, how she'd baked cookies. Emma felt a twinge of jealousy, but mostly regret. Caitlin was who she was supposed to be, kind, caring, loving. "Cool dinosaur, baby," Emma patted Jake on the head. "And you, Sophie, how was your weekend?" "It's fine," Sophia shrugged, dropping her backpack by the door. "We went to the zoo. Dad and Caitlin showed me the penguins." "Sounds like fun," Emma nodded, trying not to show her pain. "Want some pasta for dinner?" "Yeah." Jake ran into the living room, and Sophia went to her room. Emma cooked dinner, but her thoughts were on the children. Sophia had become withdrawn, Jake was being capricious, and she knew it was her fault. She had destroyed their family, and now they were paying for her mistakes. She remembered Sophia's words, "Why can't you and Daddy live together?" And Jake's, "I want Daddy." Each question they asked was a reminder of what she had lost. During dinner, Emma tried to get the children to talk. "Sophie, how was your performance?" she asked, setting down the plates. "You're a B, right?" "Yes," Sophia picked at her pasta. "Miss Carter said I dance well." "I'll come and see," Emma smiled. "And Dad too, right?" "And Caitlin," Sophia looked at her. "She promised." Emma nodded, feeling her smile become strained. "That's great," she said. "I'm glad you're having fun." After dinner, Emma put Jake to bed, reading him about dinosaurs until he fell asleep. Sophia was in her room, drawing. Emma knocked and walked in. "Hey, B," she sat down on the bed. "Can I see your drawing?" Sophia showed the album a bee on a flower, but there were dark clouds around. "Beautiful," Emma stroked her head. "But why the clouds?" "I don't know," Sophia shrugged. "Just like that." Emma hugged her, feeling her heart squeeze. She knew that these clouds were a reflection of their lives, and she was the reason for it. "I love you," she said, "and Jake, and I'll always be here for you." "Do you love your dad?" Sophia looked at her. Emma fell silent, choosing her words. I'll always take care of Dad," she said, "but we live separately now. That doesn't mean we're not a family." Sophia nodded, but her eyes were sad. Emma put her down and went back into the living room, where the silence was deafening. She picked up her phone, but there were no messages or calls. Lisa was gone, her school parents had turned away, Ryan was a thing of the past. She was alone, and this loneliness made her look at herself. She remembered how she had fallen for Lisa's bright life talk, how she had laughed at David, calling him boring, how she had sought passion with Ryan. She had thought it would make her happy, but instead she had lost everything. David had built their family with love, driving the kids to school, cooking dinner, holding her at night. His steady love was something she hadn't appreciated until it was destroyed. Emma stood up and walked to the mirror in the hallway. Her face was tired, with shadows under her eyes, but she saw more than that. She saw a woman who had made mistakes, but who could still change. She had decided that she would no longer sacrifice her family for selfish desires. She would be the best mother she could be to Sophia and Jake, even if it meant living with pain and guilt. The next day, Emma went to Sophia's school play. The theater was full of parents, but she sat alone, feeling the whispers behind her. David came with Caitlin, and Emma saw them smiling, holding hands. Jake sat on their laps, and Sophia waved when she saw her. Emma waved back, feeling tears sting her eyes, but she smiled. After the performance, she approached Sophia holding a bouquet of flowers. "You were amazing, honeybee," she said, hugging her. "I'm proud of you." "Thank you, Mom," Sophia smiled, and it was the first warmth in weeks. David stood next to her, and Emma looked at him. "It was a good show," she said. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," he nodded, but his voice was neutral. Caitlin smiled, but remained silent. Emma walked away, feeling their eyes on her, but for the first time she didn't feel angry. She knew David deserved to be happy, and if Caitlin made him and the kids happy, she had no right to object. But that didn't mean the pain was gone. Back home, Emma sat down at her desk and opened her laptop. She started looking for courses, something that would help her find herself again. Maybe psychology, maybe art. She didn't know what lay ahead, but she was ready to work on herself. She didn't want to be the Emma who had succumbed to temptation, but the one she could respect. Before bed, she wrote a note to Sophia and Jake, which she put in their backpacks. "I love you more than anything in the world. Mom will always be here." She knew words wouldn't fix the past, but it was a start. Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about her life. She had destroyed her family, but she had learned to appreciate what she had lost. David, Sophia, Jake, they were her world, and she hadn't appreciated it until she was alone. Now she vowed not to repeat the mistakes, not to sacrifice her family for selfishness. She didn't know who she would become, but she was ready to find herself again, step by step, for her children and for herself. Maybe she could do it. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think click to the next one.